Ladies and gentlemen, gives us great honour on our 200th Friday Night Rock Show to welcome a glam rock icon. Will you please put your hands together for Mr. Dave Hill?
Yes, that's it. Yes, I like clubs. Yeah, sounds wonderful.
Dave, how are you, sir?
I'm very good. Just getting myself together for this forthcoming tour to play all these hit records to everybody. So it's I'm always excited about it because it's what I love and what I've always done all my life. So giving out joy to people and receiving it back is no better job.
I can't think of one. Dave, I want to take you right back to your beginnings. Who was it that when you saw or heard, they made you think, I want to play the guitar?
It wasn't like that. It wasn't like that. I know many people started playing, and some have, by the fact they saw me, or some people saw Mark Bell and said, that's what I want to do. It wasn't like that. It wasn't anything to do with any pop stars or anybody that was in the charts or anything like that. It was to do with a lad down the road. I mean, I'd attempted to play an instrument at school, and I hated the recorder, and the violin was too complicated, so it was either that or dog whistling. And I think...
we've all been there.
Well, I mean, the thing is, it was all about... The music was in me, it was just trying to find the way, and I think I was too busy fooling around at school to get concentrated on it. And then this kid had this guitar down the road, and I do remember looking at it thinking, oh, that's nice. And it was like an acoustic. And I said to my dad, I'd really like to get an acoustic. So he orders this cheap acoustic off Kay's catalogue, mail order. And it was £7.50. And it comes to the house in a cardboard box. And I'm playing it upside down because I'm left-handed, you see. So that's how it started. And eventually I did play it right-handed. And the first song I learned was called Tell Laura I Love Her, right? And that's very, very poignant in my history. But as regards looking at anybody in the charts, it was nothing like that at all. And then we formed a group on the estate, you know. There's always kids you went to school with, you know, and somebody wants to be the singer. And there was a kid who looked like Cliff Richard, you know, the kind of thing. It was sort of like, oh, he looks like Cliff Richard. You can join anyway. And I think, you know, somebody played drums and whatnot. And it's funny, when I felt that once you start something, a ball starts to roll. And I think the connections I was making were with people that I basically got into trouble with at school, you know. There was just that sort of atmosphere. But then we went up the youth centre, and I always remember because in those days there was only small record players in the youth centre, you know, what tiny speaker used to play, and everybody used to dance, you know, and they had a stage, and we ended up rehearsing and having a go, really. It was, I think I earned, I don't know if you know what this means, but my first gig fee was £0.50.
Oh, you know exactly what £0.50 is, Dave. Don't worry.
2 and 6, you say, but...
I'm going to paint you a scenario.
Yeah.
And I would like to have your reaction to it.
Yeah.
Okay, when the charts came up, we're talking about the times of dialer disc being the new... I don't know, what was it?
The latest thing.
Yeah.
High tech.
High tech was dialer disc when your mum would say, put the phone down, you're listening to Slade.
Again.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that one.
You remember that?
Sort of.
1-6, yeah, dialer disc. But on a Sunday night when the charts came out, everyone was gathered round the nearest available tranny. By that I mean transistor radio.
Yeah, I know that.
I hope so.
All waiting for the charts to come out. I wondered, who was it you was kind of looking over your shoulder about, thinking, oh no, I hope they don't do better than me? Who was it that you worried?
Someone looking over my shoulder?
Yeah, like in the charts. Who were you worried about creeping up and...
competition?
Yeah.
Oh, well, there's always competition, and that's extremely good. And to be honest with you, I mean, until we had it, the people in the charts, which was Bowden and 3, All Right Now was in the charts, and that sort of stuff. They were sort of like the people you admired. When we started to have hits, I mean, our first one was number 16. I mean, it was great to even be on Top of the Pops, never mind who's looking over your shoulder. It's just the very fact you were there. Then we had a number 1, and that was the start, really, of something more serious. And the number 1 we had was written by 2 members of the group that I'm in, you know, not Holder and Lee. So in a lot of other groups, you see, they had a material written by Chin and Chapman and people like that, you know. But we were not that sort of group. We had our own writers. And I suppose looking over your shoulder is... I didn't feel sort of like competition in a sense of in fear. It was more like a healthy response to somebody. You know, it might be Bolan's just made number 1, but our record's coming out a month later or something like that. Because there used to be a thing with the record companies where they wouldn't release a certain song because a certain artist had got one out at the same time. And people used to avoid releasing records around the time we had one out. You know,
I don't blame them.
The amount of sales that we accrued in a week, if you thought about what people could afford, you know, buying a record was a big deal, you know, it was expensive, and they were pretty, you know, cautious in what they bought. And I remember it was a Tuesday chart, and they bought the records on the weekend. So the chart was compiled by the amount of outlay on the weekend. And if you'd done Top of the Pops, which we used to do before the record even came out, we did Top of the Pops, because they'd have us on, which in many cases helped us make a straight to number 1 rather than creeping up the charts. So, but it was all about timing, it was all about mass following, but yes, you used to be conscious of Sweet and other bands, you know, having hit records, and you could admire things, or sometimes I always felt that we were a group that had our own situation, you know. We were very in-house with ourselves, and we were always the type that I mean, it's like Andy Murray, you know, you win and eventually get there and you have your Wimbledon and all this stuff, but it doesn't stop you thinking there isn't somebody else that will knock you off the top. I mean, there's always health in the fact that you got to continue to produce records which are going to feed the nation, so to speak. And I think we culminate our success went from strength to strength in, I think in 1973, when we had 3 straight to number 1s and the ultimate Christmas song. So it was one heck of a time. So, I mean, you never know where it was going to go from there, you know. But competition has always been healthy in any kind of business.
Yep. Dave, when I think of you on stage, I picture you with one of 2 guitars. Obviously, the one that everybody knows is the John Birch Super Yob guitar.
Yep.
But the one that I always remember you playing, and the one that I loved, is that Gibson.
Yeah, the Gibson.
Tell me about it, because it's not your standard SG by any means, is it?
No, there's a nice story to that, because in the days before we sent emails to people and just picked up the phone, because most of us didn't have a phone, right? We didn't have a phone at home, right? You had to go to the local red box.
Yeah, too right. They always smelt so nice, didn't they?
It's just funny, because I had a manager, and he said to me, Dave, he said, you need to get a better guitar, because that Burns you've got is too bassy, and it's not good. Well, Chas Chandler was Jimi Hendrix's manager.
Yeah.
So if Chas Chandler said something, you'd listen. I went off down to Shaftesbury Avenue in London, and there was I think, Sounds something. It was a shop on the corner, and this guitar, funny enough, was right in the window, right at the front. So I saw it straight away. It was nothing like it, you know, just nothing like it. And it was 220 quid, right, this guitar, right? And it's a lot of money that was in late 60s, a lot of money. And I saw it, and I just went in, and you know, in the days when I don't know, in those days, it was like, I really want that guitar, I said to the guy. And I wasn't known then at all. You know, I just walked in and said, I'm going to go back home, which was up in Wolverhampton. So I got on the train, went home, and then I blagged me dad, you see. Said,
that's what dads are for, Dave.
well, that's the best investment he ever made.
Too
in
right.
Me, really. He's always been behind me, but this time, I mean, 220 quid was quite a lot of wages to accumulate.
Dave, what is it exactly, the guitar?
Well, what it is it's made by a man called Sam Lee, who's a Chinaman, right? So it's made by a Chinaman. And Shaftesbury Avenue is part of the Chinese Quarter, you see. So there's a guy making guitars there. And he put a Gibson neck on a different body.
Yeah.
The body of the guitar is like an SG shape.
Yes, but much thicker.
Fat.
Yes.
So it's bigger than an SG. It's fatter and heavier. And it has Gibson pickups in it. 57 paps are in it. But it's special, and it is special.
Yeah.
I mean, it hangs on my wall now because I won't take it on the road because I won't now. It's precious in the sense of. But you're quite right. The Super may be the guitar that you might think was part of a costume design more than a real great guitar. Whereas the Gibson that you're talking about is on all the hit records.
Yes.
And it's a characteristic in the sound of it, which is very Slade.
It had a great sound, that guitar.
It does, and it still does.
Yeah.
Because guitars mature. I mean, obviously, it took. If you look at it now, it's like sweated and all
it's
the
worn.
back of it's rubbed away through years and years of me playing it. And
sounds like Stuart, actually.
Always, especially guitar players, will always say, "There's one guitar I always love about you, and that's that SG shape, that white. It's got a white front part, scratch plates on it, and there's no other guitar like it."
No, because I've never ever seen anything like it before.
No, there isn't anything like it.
That's brilliant.
And I suppose, in a way, I think it's a bit like Chuck Berry. He got this particular, I think it was a blonde semi-acoustic thing, and it's always referred to as his much beloved Gibson so-and-so that he always played on those early records, you see. And there's always something. I mean, in this game, you can have 10 million guitars in your house, and I don't have 10 million guitars. And I don't know how often these people have time to play more than one, I don't know, but there'll always be something special about... Because, in a lot of cases, you don't need half a dozen guitars, because one has a tendency to do the job, and that guitar had a tendency to do a multitasking job of different types of songs.
What are you favouring now, Dave, at the moment?
I play Gibsons.
They're a workhorse, though, aren't they? You see, that's
what
you're
Gibson
talking
I've got
about.
is a gold top, and it's...
Told you it was a gold top.
It's another special guitar, actually. It's not unique, but it just has a really good sound, and it fits with what I'm doing. I don't have to fuss about losing it or anything. I mean, my dad's long gone now, but in fondness to him, that he'll always know that because he drove me down to London, it was me and Don Powell, the drummer in Slade, and we were sitting in the car going down to London with 220 quid in our pocket, so to speak, and you go in the shop and it's still there. And the weird thing is, you remember Susie Quattro?
Of course.
Yeah.
Her husband Lenny, who was in the group, Lenny Tuckey, is
big
the lead
guy.
guitarist. He's a big fella.
Mm-hmm.
He said he was about to buy that guitar, and somebody'd come in and said, "I'm going to buy that guitar," and it was me.
Wow.